Welcome back to another quiet night at the poker table. You're listening to Master Tilt Radio, where the cards whisper and strategy slowly unfolds in the calm of the night. Tonight, we're going to talk about one of poker's most misunderstood hands, Ace King. Some call it Big Slick. Some call it the Heartbreaker. Some say it's a hand of promise. Others, a hand of disappointment. But the truth, like everything in poker, is hidden somewhere in between. You've probably been there before, sitting at a dimly lit table, fingers resting on two smooth cards. You peek, Ace King. Your pulse rises just a little. It's a beautiful sight. That clean, perfect combination of power and potential. A hand that looks like it should win. But poker isn't about what should happen. It's about what does. Ace King can be thrilling. It can also be cruel. You raise with confidence. The flop comes down. 9, 6, 3. No ace, no king. And suddenly, the hand that looked so powerful feels so fragile. That's the paradox of Ace King. It gives you everything, but only if you understand how to play it. In this broadcast, we're going to take our time. We're going to slow everything down. We'll look at Ace King from every angle. In cash games, in tournaments, in deep stacks and short stacks, in the early levels and on the final table bubble. We'll talk about the math, the mindset, and the mystery of this legendary hand. But most importantly, we'll learn why Ace King is not just a pair of cards. It's a reflection of your poker soul. Because the way you play Ace King says everything about you. Are you patient or impulsive? Do you chase or control? Do you fear the flop or embrace it? These are not just strategy questions. They're questions of temperament, of discipline, of self-awareness. So, tonight, you don't have to think fast. You don't have to solve complex ranges. Just relax. Let the sound of the cards carry you. Let's walk through Ace King together. Slowly, hand by hand, mistake by mistake, lesson by lesson. By the time this broadcast ends, you'll understand not just how to play Ace King, but how to feel Ace King, how to respect it, control it, and sometimes fold it. Because true poker mastery is not about winning every hand, it's about knowing when not to fight. Now, take a deep breath, shuffle your thoughts, and let's begin. Part 1. Understanding Ace King, the foundation. Ace King. The name itself feels powerful. Two of the highest cards in the deck, side by side, standing tall like royalty. When you see Ace King, you feel that little spark. It's a handful of promise. The kind that makes you sit up straighter, lean forward just a little, and think, this could be my moment. But here's the first truth about Ace King, and maybe the hardest to accept. Ace King is not a made hand. It's a potential hand. It's a drawing hand with amazing equity, but without a flop. It's just two high cards. Let's think about it mathematically for a second. When you hold Ace King, you'll hit either an ace or a king on the flop. Only about 32% of the time. That means 2/3 of the time, you'll completely miss. No pair, no flush draw, nothing. And that's where most players lose control. They see Ace King, and they expect to win. They think, it's premium, it's powerful, it must be mine. But poker doesn't care about how pretty your hand looks. Poker only rewards understanding. Ace-King wins big when you play it with clarity, not emotion. When you know what it really is. A top-tier pre-flop hand that still needs to prove itself post-flop. So let's break it down. Ace-King offsuit and Ace-King suited. They look the same, but they're not. Ace-King suited adds that little bit of magic. Flush potential, backdoor draws, extra equity on semi-bluff boards. It gives you more ways to win. That tiny difference in texture can turn a tough spot into a profitable one. But regardless of the suits, Ace-King has one special power that most hands don't. Domination. When you hold Ace-King, you block so many of your opponent's strong combinations. Hands like Ace-Queen, Ace-Jack, King-Queen, they're all in trouble. And that's where your true advantage comes from. The second truth about Ace-King is psychological. It reveals your relationship with patience. Because poker players love certainty. We love the comfort of knowing we have the best hand. But Ace-King is not certainty. It's potential. It's the unknown. It asks you to trust your judgment, even when the board doesn't help you. That's why Ace-King teaches discipline. It's the perfect mirror for your poker personality. Some players push too hard. They can't stand folding it. Others get scared when they miss. They give up too soon. The best players live in the middle. Confident, but cautious. Aggressive, but aware. And that's what separates the professional from the emotional. Pros know that Ace-King isn't about hitting the flop. It's about controlling the pot. It's about creating fold equity, pre-flop, isolating weaker ranges, and staying balanced when you face resistance. Think about it. Ace-King is not just strong because of the cards. It's strong because of the message it sends. When you 3-bet with Ace-King, your opponents feel pressure. They sense power. Even if you miss the board, your story still holds weight. That's the beauty of Ace-King. It carries credibility. So, before we move into strategy, let's take one quiet moment to appreciate the hand itself. The ace, symbol of dominance. The king, symbol of control. Together, they form balance. Logic and emotion. Patience and aggression. Risk and reward. Every time you look down and see Ace-King, you're being offered a small lesson. A reminder that poker isn't about luck or fear. It's about rhythm, flow, timing, and knowing when to let go. In the next part of this broadcast, we'll talk about how Ace-King behaves in cash games, where stacks are deep, decisions are heavy, and every bet is a story. But for now, just breathe. Imagine the cards resting quietly in front of you, Ace and King, and let their calm confidence settle into your thoughts. Part 2. Playing Ace-King in cash games. Cash games, the heart of poker. No tournament clock. No pressure from blinds rising. Just the steady, endless rhythm of cards and chips changing hands. In a cash game, every decision is magnified. You can always reload, but you can't reload your discipline. And Ace-King, in a cash game, is both a gift and a test. Let's start before the flop. The moment you first see those two shining cards, Ace-King, your instinct tells you, this is strong, and you're right. But strength in poker isn't just about what you hold. It's about how you play it. In most situations, Ace-King is a hand you raise, not call. It's built for aggression. When the action folds to you, you open with confidence. A standard raise, announcing your presence at the table. If someone raises before you, Ace-King shines as a 3-bet hand, one of your strongest weapons. You're not just raising for value, you're raising to control the narrative. Because poker, especially deep-stacked poker, is as much about telling stories as it is about math. Your 3-bet with Ace-King says, I'm serious, I'm strong, I'm here to play for stacks. But here's where things get tricky. Sometimes, you'll face a 4-bet. And now, the air feels heavier. You look at your opponent. You try to read their breathing, their timing, their energy. Ace-King against a 4-bet is a beautiful paradox. It's often good enough to shove, but not always safe to gamble. The key is stack depth. When you're deep, say 100 big blinds or more, you don't need to play for everything pre-flop. You can call, keep the pot manageable, and trust your post-flop skill. When stacks are shorter, 50 big blinds or less, Ace-King becomes a powerful L in hand. You block the monsters, aces and kings, and you flip well against everything else. The best players adjust naturally. They don't cling to fixed rules. They ask, who am I up against? What story have I told so far? What story are they trying to tell me? Then comes the flop, the moment of truth. The dealer spreads 3 cards, and the world slows down for a second. Sometimes, you'll see it right away. Ace on the flop, king on the flop, and your heart lifts, but your voice stays calm. Top pair, top kicker. You've hit it. Now your goal shifts from potential to value. Bet for strength, but don't bet for fear. You're not protecting, you're extracting. Against worse aces, against stubborn kings, against draws that will chase you all the way to the river. But most of the time, and this is the part that tests your patience, you'll miss. The flop comes 9-6-3, or 10-10-5, or something even stranger, where nothing seems to connect. And now you have a decision to make. Do you bet, or do you breathe? Ace-King has power even when it misses. You have initiative. You have the range advantage. You have fold equity. A small continuation bet can often win the pot. But the best players know that sometimes the strongest move is stillness. Checking back with Ace-King on the wrong board is not weakness, it's wisdom. The trick is reading the texture. If the board is low and dry, say 7-2-2, a small c-bet works well. If the board is connected, like 9-10 jack, slow down. You're walking into their range now. You have 2 overcards, but your opponent might already have a made hand. Control the pot. Keep your story consistent. Because poker isn't about winning every battle. It's about surviving long enough to win the war. Imagine this. You're in a $2, $5 cash game. You raise from the button with Ace-King suited. The small blind, 3-bet, then you call. The flop comes King 9-4, rainbow. They check. You check back just once. For balance, the turn brings the 7 of spades. They lead out small. You raise slightly, keeping your voice calm, your body still. The river, a harmless deuce. They check. You bet for value. You get called. You turn over your hand. Top pair, top kicker. And they show King Queen. That's the essence of Ace-King in cash games. Not fireworks, not drama, but quiet control. You didn't win because you were lucky. You won because you stayed balanced. Here are some key that cash game takeaways. Ace-King loves aggression pre-flop, but hates ego post-flop. Don't fall in love with the hand. Fall in love with position and information. Deep stacks reward patience. You don't need to build massive pots unless you connect. Your biggest edge isn't your hand, it's your discipline. In cash games, Ace-King isn't just about profit. It's about posture, emotional posture. The ability to stay calm. Even when the board betrays you, you raise, you miss, you breathe, you let go. Because poker, like life, isn't about control. It's about flow. In the next part of our journey, we'll move into the tournament world, where Ace-King becomes a different creature. Blinds rise, stacks shrink, and decisions turn sharper. But before we go there, take a deep breath. Picture the table, the calm glow of the felt, the quiet hum of chips around you, and Ace-King resting face down, waiting patiently for the right moment to shine. Part 3. Playing Ace-King in tournaments. Tournaments, they're a different world. Unlike cash games, where you can always reach into your pocket, a tournament gives you one stack and one story to tell. Each hand becomes a page in that story, and how you play Ace-King can shape the entire plot. In the early levels, the blinds are small, the stacks are deep, and patience is your greatest ally. Ace-King here isn't a coin flip machine. It's a scalpel. You raise, but you don't rush. You control the table. You test the waters. Many players make a classic mistake early on. They get all-in with Ace-King against pocket queens or jacks, and when they lose, they sigh, just unlucky. But the truth is, it wasn't unlucky. It was unnecessary. Early in a tournament, you don't win by flipping coins. You win by collecting small edges. You win by surviving. So in those first few levels, treat Ace-King with grace. Raise to isolate weaker players, but don't risk your stack against another strong range, unless there's real reason to believe you're ahead. Ace-King shines brightest when it faces weaker aces, Ace-10, Ace-Jack, or dominated hands like King-Queen. That's where you want to get your value early. Clean, controlled pots, not chaos. As blinds grow, stacks shrink, and antes enter the pot, Ace-King begins to change shape. It's no longer just a hand. It's a weapon, a tool for pressure. Now, every raise you make means more. Stealing blinds is real profit. Losing a flip is real pain. In this middle stage, Ace-King becomes one of the best hands to reshove with. When a late position player opens light, and you're short or medium stacked, Ace-King is your champion. You push. You let the pressure do the work. You might not always get called, but every fold adds life to your stack, and every call you do get, you're rarely crushed. But remember, this is also the phase where your image matters most. If you've been active, your shoves get less respect. If you've been quiet, they get more folds. Tournaments are emotional landscapes. Ace-King isn't just about math here. It's about momentum. You'll also face difficult spots. 3 bets, 4 bets. Players re-raising you light, and you'll have to decide. Do you want to gamble or glide? Sometimes, Ace-King will tempt you into a big confrontation. And sometimes, the wise move is to let it go. Because surviving to see the next orbit is often worth more than chasing one coin flip. As the final tables approach, blinds are high, stacks are shallow, and every chip feels like gold. Here, Ace-King becomes a force of nature. When you're short-stacked, 10, 15, even 20 big blinds, Ace-King is your green light. It's your all-in hand. You're happy to take the race, because now, the math is on your side. But if you're a big stack, Ace-King becomes a different kind of weapon. Not a sword, but a shield. You use it to apply pressure, to push others around, to open pots and force smaller stacks into mistakes. The trick, as always, is awareness. Pay attention to who needs to fold, who's desperate, who's trying to ladder up. Because in late-stage tournament poker, Ace-King isn't just a hand, it's a statement. It says, I have strength, and you have fear. But even here, with all its glory, Ace-King must still be played with care. There are moments, rare, but real, when folding Ace-King, pre-flop, is the right move. On the final table bubble, with ICM pressure heavy, when a huge stack 5-bets all in, and there are multiple short stacks waiting to bust. Sometimes, discipline beats dominance. It's hard to do. It feels wrong. But poker rewards the patient, not just the brave. When you finally reach the final table, Ace-King becomes both friend and teacher. You've come this far by managing your stack, your emotions, your timing. Now Ace-King asks you for one last test. Can you stay calm when everything's on the line? At this stage, every decision feels magnified. Every pot matters. And Ace-King, once a drawing hand, once a weapon, now becomes a mirror again. It shows you how much control you truly have. Because if you can raise, miss, fold, and still stay steady, you've already won more than chips. You've learned emotional balance. In tournaments, Ace-King is a story of evolution. From patience in the early levels, to pressure in the middle, to power in the end. And through it all, it teaches you the same quiet lesson. Strength isn't about how loud you play. It's about how clearly you see. So, before we move on, take one slow breath. Picture the table again. The lights softer now, the chips neatly stacked, the cards resting in front of you. Ace and King, waiting, glowing, silent. In our next part, we'll talk about the mistakes, the traps players fall into when they misplay Ace-King, and how to avoid them, with nothing more than calm awareness. Part 4. Common mistakes and misconceptions. Every poker player has their blind spots. Even the best, the calmest, the sharpest, fall into habits that cost them chips, and Ace-King, for all its beauty and strength, is one of the easiest hands to misplay. Tonight, we'll look at the quiet mistakes, the small, simple errors that turn Big Slick into big trouble. Mistake 1. Falling in love. It happens to everyone. You look down at Ace-King, and something inside you says, this is it. This is the hand. You start imagining the pot, the showdown, the victory. You want it too much. And that's where the danger begins. Because poker doesn't care about your hopes. It only cares about the board and your opponent's range. Ace-King looks like a made hand, but it isn't until it hits. It's just two high cards. The moment you forget that, you start forcing the action. You build pots you don't need to build. You convince yourself that you must win. But poker isn't about wanting, it's about waiting. Patience turns Ace-King from a trap into a weapon. Mistake 2. Playing too fast. Ace-King is strong pre-flop, but sometimes players move too quickly. They see a 3-bet, a 4-bet, and they just shove without thinking. And yes, sometimes it's right. Sometimes the math agrees, but often it's just impatience in disguise. The best players don't rush with Ace-King. They listen to the situation. They ask questions. Who's betting? What's their range? What's the stack size? Because in deep cash games or early tournaments, you don't need to flip for your stack. There's always another hand, another orbit, another chance to strike. Ace-King rewards awareness, not adrenaline. Mistake 3. Giving up too easily. Now let's look at the other extreme. You raise pre-flop, you miss the flop, and you freeze. You sigh, check, and fold too quickly. You forget that Ace-King still carries strength, not in the cards, but in the story. You have the range advantage. You have fold equity. Sometimes, a small continuation bet will make better hands fold. Sometimes, you can float one street and take it away later. The mistake isn't in folding, it's in giving up completely. Poker rewards the brave, but only when the bravery is thoughtful. Ace-King gives you permission to keep asking questions, one street at a time. Mistake number 4. Emotional tilt. The hardest mistake to see is the one that happens inside. You lose with Ace-King a few times in a row. 2 smaller pairs, 2 strange 2-pair hands, 2 bad beats, and suddenly, something shifts. You start forcing it. You start thinking, I deserve to win this one. You 3-bet wider. You shove lighter. You tilt quietly. Ace-King becomes your symbol of frustration. But here's the secret. The cards never remember. They don't owe you anything. They don't care about the last pot. You're calm. That's your real edge. If you can stay steady, after losing with Ace-King, you're already ahead of most of the table. Tilt doesn't start in your chips. It starts in your heartbeat. Control that, and everything else follows. Mistake 5. Ignoring context. The last mistake is subtle but powerful. Many players treat every Ace-King the same, but context changes everything. Ace-King plays differently. From early position than from the button. It plays differently. In tournaments than in cash. It plays differently against a pro than against a casual player. When you hold Ace-King, you're not just holding cards, you're holding information. The board texture, the player type, the stack sizes, they all whisper clues. The more you listen, the clearer the right move becomes. Poker isn't solved by logic alone. It's solved by awareness, moment to moment. Closing thought. Ace-King will break your heart sometimes. It will make you question your reads, your instincts, even your luck. But it's also your greatest teacher. It teaches discipline when you overplay it, confidence when you underplay it, and emotional balance when you lose with it. If you can learn to stay calm with Ace-King, win or lose, you can stay calm with any hand. In the next part of our broadcast, we'll explore the advanced concepts, the subtle techniques that turn Ace-King from a strong hand into a strategic masterpiece. Things like range balancing, bluffing frequency, and using Ace-King as a weapon of pressure. So stay relaxed, keep breathing, and let the quiet rhythm of the cards carry you into the next lesson. Part 5. Advanced Concepts, turning Ace-King into a strategic weapon. By now, you've learned that Ace-King is not just a hand, it's a tool, a mirror of your discipline, your awareness, your control. But to truly master it, you need to go deeper, beyond the surface, beyond the emotions, into the quiet world of strategy. Let's walk there together, slowly, step by step. The first one, range balance, the power of possibility. When you raise with Ace-King, you're not just betting 2 cards. You're representing a range, strong hands, medium hands, sometimes bluffs. Your opponents are trying to guess which one you have. Balancing that range keeps them in the dark. If you always play Ace-King the same way, you become predictable. But if sometimes you flat, sometimes you 3-bet, sometimes you check a dry flop, you create uncertainty, and uncertainty is control. When your opponents can't read you, you own the table. Ace-King becomes a message. I could have it all, or nothing. That tension is your invisible edge. Next, the semi-bluff weapon. Ace-King has unique strength, because even when it misses, it's rarely dead. When you miss the flop, you still have overcards, you still have fold equity, and sometimes you have backdoor draws. That means you can keep applying pressure without losing control. This is what pros call a semi-bluff, a bet that can win in 2 ways. By making them fold, or by improving later. When you use Ace-King this way, you're no longer chasing luck. You're shaping the outcome. You're turning potential into leverage. Even missed flops can be opportunities, if you see them clearly. Number 3. Stack depth awareness. Now, let's talk about something subtle. Stack depth. Ace-King plays differently with 20 big blinds than it does with 200. In tournaments, with shallow stacks, Ace-King shines. It's a powerhouse, a perfect hand to shove, to isolate, to take coin flips for survival. But in deep cash games, the story changes. Now, Ace-King is about control, not explosion. You don't need to gamble early. You need to extract value later. The deeper the stacks, the more careful your choices become. One bet too big, and the pot grows faster than your comfort. So let's stack depth. Guide your tempo, fast when short, smooth when deep. Ace-King is a flexible instrument. You just have to play the right rhythm. The last advance, positional domination. There's one more advanced truth about Ace-King. It's not just strong because of its rank, it's strong because of position. When you act last, Ace-King becomes nearly unstoppable. You see what others do first. You control the pace. You can decide when to apply pressure and when to float quietly. When you act first, it's different. You're guessing. You're vulnerable. So learn to respect position. When you're in late position, let Ace-King breathe. Use it to punish weakness, to see bet thinly, to control the flow. When you're early, keep it simple. Raise cleanly, don't force big pots too soon. Positional power is invisible to most players, but it's everything. Ace-King is like the ocean, sometimes calm, sometimes wild, always deep. It can crush your opponents or crush your ego, depending on how you handle it. Mastering Ace-King isn't about playing it perfectly, it's about understanding it completely. When to push, when to wait, when to fold, when to breathe. Poker is a mirror, and Ace-King is your reflection. Strong, but human. Powerful, but fragile. So the next time you sit at the table and look down to see those two cards shining back at you, remember, the real skill isn't in the cards. It's in the calm behind them. Part 6. Tournament versus Cash Game Strategy. Two worlds of Ace-King. Every poker hand lives inside its context, and Ace-King, the hand we call Big Slick, is shaped deeply by the world it's played in. A tournament table and a cash game table. They may look the same, but they breathe very differently. The stacks, the pressure, the purpose, everything changes. How Ace-King feels in your hands. Let's slow down together and drift between these two worlds. In the cash game, deep waters. In a cash game, you're not chasing survival, you're building decisions. The blinds stay the same, the stacks go deep, you can always rebuy. So Ace-King becomes a technical hand, a weapon of timing and precision. You raise it for value, you 3-bet it for control, but you never rush it, because in deep stacks, one mistake can cost a full buy-in. In these quiet, endless sessions, Ace-King is about balance. It's not always an all-in hand, it's a hand of leverage. You use it to pressure weaker ranges, to attack loose openers, to steal from those who fear big pots. And when you miss the flop, you don't panic, you breathe, you evaluate. You let the hand go if the story doesn't fit. Cash games reward patience. They reward folds, just as much as bets. The calmest player wins, not the loudest. So, in cash games, Ace-King is a long-term ally. It's a tool for edges, not explosions. In the tournament, the clock is ticking. But in tournaments, everything changes. Now, every chip has a heartbeat. Every blind level tightens the air. The stacks shrink, the pressure rises, and survival becomes part of the strategy. In this world, Ace-King transforms. It becomes an engine of momentum. When stacks are short, you can't wait forever. You need hands that can push the action. Hands that play well against almost any range. And Ace-King is perfect for that. You can shove confidently with 15, 20, even 25 big blinds. You'll often get called by worse. In tournaments, Ace-King isn't just a hand. It's a lifeline. It's your ticket to double up, to move forward, to stay alive. But beware. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking Ace-King means invincible. It doesn't. Sometimes it loses 2 small pairs. Sometimes it misses completely, and that's okay. Because in a tournament, you don't control luck. You control decisions. When you shove with Ace-King in the right spot, you're not gambling. You're trusting the math. You're playing the structure. You're fighting time. Middle and late stages. As the blinds rise and stacks shrink further, Ace-King gains even more power. When you're short-stacked, Ace-King becomes your sword. You move in, and you let the chips speak. But when you're deep, late in a tournament, with ICM pressure, with pay jumps looming, the story changes again. Now Ace-King becomes a negotiation. You open smaller. You play with more caution. You avoid coin flips that could destroy hours of patience. You think not only about your hand, but about your tournament life. Sometimes, folding Ace-King preflop in a final table spot is correct, because survival is worth more than equity. That's the paradox of poker. In cash games, you can always reload. In tournaments, you only have one stack, and when it's gone, so is your story. So every decision carries weight. Every chip is a fragment of time. How emotion plays differently. Emotion also changes between these two worlds. In cash, you have room to breathe. You can lose a pot and calmly rebuild. In tournaments, each pot feels bigger. Each loss feels heavier. And that pressure can twist your relationship with Ace-King. When you're tired, when the lights are bright, Ace-King starts to look like destiny. But poker doesn't believe in destiny. It believes in balance. So breathe, stay steady. Whether you win or lose a flip, the real victory is emotional control. Bridging the two worlds. The true mastery of Ace-King comes from understanding both worlds and knowing when to shift. In cash games, you protect chips. In tournaments, you risk them wisely. In cash games, you build long-term EV. In tournaments, you chase survival and momentum. But in both, Ace-King remains the same at its core, a reflection of you. Your discipline, your patience, your awareness. When you can play Ace-King with calm confidence, without fear, without ego, then it doesn't matter where you are. Cash game, tournament, home game, final table. You're in control. So tonight, as you rest your thoughts and drift away to sleep, remember this quiet truth. Ace-King is more than a starting hand. It's a test of who you are. When the pressure rises, it rewards clarity and it punishes noise. When you breathe slowly, when you stay patient, you can hear it. The rhythm of good poker. The rhythm of calm decision. And as you drift off, imagine it. Ace-King shining gently on the felt. A symbol of both risk and peace. A reminder that in poker and in life, the best move is often the quiet one. Part 8. The psychology of Ace-King. Mindset, emotion, and inner calm. Poker is not just a game of math, it's a mirror, a reflection of patience, of emotion, of discipline, and no hand reveals your inner world, quite like Ace-King. When you hold it, you feel something, excitement, confidence, maybe even fear, because Ace-King is the edge between potential and reality. It looks perfect, but it demands peace. Let's explore the quiet psychology of this hand. Let's slow down together and listen to what it teaches. Beyond the chips and the cards. The illusion of control. Ace King gives you a feeling of power. It's shiny, it's royal. It looks like it should win. But here's the secret. In poker, control is an illusion. You can control your decisions, not the deck, not the flop, not fate. When players forget this, they start forcing outcomes. They bet too big, they shove too soon, they chase justice in a game that has none. The pro knows better. They release control. They focus only on what's theirs. Their thought process, their emotion, their breathing. Every fold, every call becomes an act of awareness. Ace King doesn't promise a win. It promises a test. How calmly can you lose something that looked so strong? How gently can you let go of what never belonged to you? That's where mastery begins. The ego trap. Poker whispers to your ego, it says, "You're smart, you're brave, you can outplay them." And when you look down at Ace King, your ego smiles. It feels justified, powerful. But ego is the enemy of clarity. The moment you need to prove something, you lose the balance. You start seeing what you want to see, not what's really there. Pros train themselves to silence that voice. They play Ace King, not as a statement, but as a question. They ask, what is this moment asking from me? Aggression, patience, a fold. They let logic replace pride. They let humility guide strength. In poker, the quietest mind is the deadliest weapon. The fear of losing. Every player, deep down, fears loss. When you hold Ace King, you feel that fear. The fear of missing the flop, of running into aces, of being unlucky again. And sometimes, that fear takes control. You hesitate, you fold too quickly, you play safe, but not smart. The truth is simple. Fear never leaves the table, it just changes form. The best players don't destroy fear, they befriend it. They look at that nervous heartbeat and say quietly, it's okay, because fear means you care. It means you're awake. When you accept fear, it no longer controls you. It becomes part of your awareness, a soft voice reminding you to think clearly. Ace King teaches that every big decision has a little bit of fear inside it, and that's what keeps you human. Emotional tilt, the invisible enemy. Tilt doesn't always look like anger. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's a sigh you don't even hear yourself make. You lose with Ace King. 3 times in a row, you start to think, this hand is cursed. You start to chase redemption. That's how tilt begins, not in rage, but in story. The pro cuts that story short. They treat every hand as a new page. No memory, no revenge, just the moment. Because poker isn't personal, it's pattern, it's rhythm. When you stop needing to get even, you start playing true poker, and suddenly, Ace King feels lighter, freer, like just another hand, not a burden. The patience paradox. Ace King asks you to wait, to breathe, to stay calm in the middle of noise. That's the paradox. It looks like a hand of action, but it rewards stillness. You don't need to win every pot. You just need to make the right decision each time. The pro knows that. The long game is built on moments of patience. They can fold ace-king and feel peace. They can lose with it and stay steady. That's what separates a player chasing results from one building mastery. The flow state. Every now and then, everything slows down. You stop thinking about results. You stop worrying about bad beats. You just play. You see the cards clearly. You see the story clearly. Time stretches, noise disappears. That's called flow. Ace-king, when played with full awareness, invites you into that flow. Each chip moves with intention. Each breath feels connected to the rhythm of the game. Poker becomes meditation, each decision a note in a quiet song. When you reach that state, ace-king isn't just two cards anymore. It's the entry point to a kind of peace that lives beneath competition. You realize the game was never about beating others. It was about understanding yourself. So tonight, if you think about ace-king, don't think about winning or losing. Think about balance. Think about awareness, about breathing before reacting, about choosing calm over chaos. Ace-king is a mirror, and when you can look into it without fear, without pride, without attachment, you're not just a better poker player. You're a steadier human being. The true lesson of ace-king is not in EV charts or solver grids. It's in the art of being present. And as the night drifts on, as your thoughts grow quiet, you might find yourself smiling, just a little, knowing that the next time you hold those two cards, you'll play them, not with tension, but with peace. And now, the cards are quiet. The table is empty. The night is almost over. We've spent this time together, sitting with ace-king, watching it rise and fall, and rise again. We've seen how it shines in the opening hand, how it trembles on the flop, how it humbles us in loss, and teaches us patience in victory. Ace-king isn't just a hand, it's a story. A reminder that poker, like life, is never about certainty. It's about rhythm, awareness, stillness. Every decision at the table is a breath. Every fold is a pause. Every pot, won or lost, is just one small wave in a much bigger sea. You've learned tonight that ace-king doesn't always win, but that's what makes it special, because it forces us to play with intention, to trust our judgment, to find balance between aggression and surrender. The next time you look down and see ace-king, I hope you remember this feeling, the quiet between thoughts, the slow rhythm of understanding. Don't rush, don't panic, just breathe. Ask yourself, what does this moment want from me? Sometimes it will want courage, sometimes patience, sometimes a fold that feels like wisdom. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to chase destiny. You only need to listen. That's how the greats play poker. That's how they live their lives. When the cards stop moving and the chips settle, there's a stillness that remains. That stillness is the essence of poker. It's the quiet that exists just before a decision, just after a mistake, just beneath every heartbeat. And if you can stay in that stillness, even when the game is loud, you'll start to feel something deeper, a kind of peace that no bad beat can shake. That's where poker becomes more than a game. It becomes a reflection of how you move through the world. As you lie there listening, you might start to drift. Maybe you're thinking about a hand you played. Maybe you're just hearing the sound of cards and letting your mind wander. Either way, it's okay to let go now. The lessons are already with you. The logic, the rhythm, the calm. You've done enough thinking for tonight. You've played the hand in your mind. Now it's time to fold your thoughts. Close your eyes and rest. Because even poker players need sleep to see the game clearly again. So wherever you are, maybe sitting in front of your screen, maybe lying in bed, maybe halfway between waking and dreaming, know that this game will still be waiting for you tomorrow. The cards will shuffle again, the blinds will rise again, and you will be a little calmer, a little wiser, a little more patient than before. Because every time you study this game, you're not just learning poker, you're learning yourself. Thank you for spending this quiet night here, for listening, for breathing, for staying still. This is your host, signing off from Master Tilt Radio. May your next Ace King bring you peace, whether it wins or simply teaches.